Sounds good.
Perfect. Perfect. So I can see that we're live.
Hey Anna, how are you?
Hi Sean, I'm very, very good. Thank you. How are you keeping today?
I'm good, thank you. No, doing good.
Yeah, that's very good to hear. So I'm also checking to make sure that we're fine, we're live. Yeah, I can see that we're
Great.
actually have a few people watching us. Perfect. A few people waiting for us to actually start the session, and that's absolutely great to see. So yeah, tell me a bit about how you're doing this weekend. We might give guys just 1 minute to join, and then we can start our session because I'm sure it's going to be super useful and super interesting for everyone. So yeah, so how is your day today? How is your weekend?
Yeah, I'm doing good. So I'm here in Dublin, and it's a beautifully sunny morning this morning, which is nice. It's been rainy most of the week, so that's nice for a change. I'm in a good mood. It's a Saturday morning. We've had a very busy week, both at NBX Talent and with at Applicantio as well. So it's an exciting time for us with the launch of Applicantio. But yeah, it's nice to take a morning to just relax a little bit and to enjoy the weather as well. How are you doing?
Absolutely, I totally agree. Same for me, same weather. But yeah, it's nice to see that the sky is getting a bit blue. So hopefully we'll have a nice weekend. And as you say, this week has been very intense for some reason. Very strange, but very intense, but lovely as well. And nice to see so many projects starting up and so many people. So it's that's nice, and it's nice that it's Saturday, so that we can relax and enjoy our time. So yeah, cool. I can see a few people joining us. It's absolutely amazing to see them, guys. We'll start very soon. Sean will introduce himself, and it would be very interesting for you to learn more things about CVs, about interviews, because Sean is a HR specialist and he'll be able to tell you loads of things. Perfect. I just want to make sure here that I do have our video on and all is great, and then we can start. Guys, tell us how you're doing, where you're watching us from as well, and
So it's
and sorry, yeah, and how is everything with you? How is your weekend going? Perfect. I can see us live. Cool, Sean. I suppose we can start, and if guys missed something, I'm gonna save this video and they can watch it whenever they have a bit of time. Would you like to introduce a little bit yourself? Tell us a bit about yourself, because we worked together with Sean actually 2 years ago, and it's nice to catch up again. So if you could introduce yourself, tell us a bit about yourself, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, Anna-Marie, thank you very much for having me on this morning. It's a pleasure to be joining you. So for those of you who haven't met me before, my name is Sean McCarthy. I'm a HR and talent specialist based here in Ireland. I work for a company called NBX Talent as their lead talent consultant. What we do there is we specialise in hiring people from everywhere across the world to come here and work in Ireland in everything from construction to tech, all the way through to sales type roles as well. So that is my day job. As well as that, I'm also the founder of a HR interview and CV advice website called Applicantio. There should be a link to that in the description of this video as well. What Applicantio is it is a free to use for anyone across the world website which gives you in-depth advice about how to write CVs, how to prepare for interviews, negotiate your salary, and everything you need to know to make sure that you get the best job that you can as well.
Absolutely, that's very interesting to know. And as you can see, Sean has a good experience into hiring people, and I'm sure that you can tell us a lot of things that you've learned during these years, and you worked with people, and the amount of experience is huge and it's very important, because very often I get questions from guys, oh Anna, I want to work in Ireland, or I want to come to Western Europe. Can you tell me about CV? Can you tell me about jobs? Can you tell me how to go for the interview? And I can tell them my experience as a person who looked for a job. But then it's interesting to see your experience from the other side, from a person who is hiring as well. And to see different points of view. So yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, guys.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Also check Applicantio. The link to Applicantio is actually in the description to this video, where Sean will share much more information. Like, we'll just talk a little bit, a few percent about this topic, but you can find much more on Sean's project. It's something that I was super surprised. I wanted to make this video for Patreon, where I have just a few people, just a very tiny community, but then I think that the world deserves to know more about Sean's project, because it's very important, and it's nice to see that Sean is giving out so much information to us, just giving us his experience, which is super valuable. Cool. Sean, do you think that we can start? I would like to ask you a few questions, and if guys you have questions, pop them and we'll answer them in the end as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds good. I'm excited to get into things.
Absolutely. Cool. So one of my first question would be how to begin, what to begin with when someone is looking for a job. Like, let's say that I'm here, I don't have anything, no job, no CV, nothing. Like, what do I begin with? Like, setting goals with a CV, with networking, what to start with?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So a lot of the time, I get this question when people have maybe just left college, or maybe they've just left school and they're not sure if they want to go to college or if they want to go straight into working. And a lot of the time, the first thing that needs to be established is you need to take some time to think about yourself and think about what it is that you want to do and what it is that you want to achieve. There's no point in trying to make a CV if you don't know what type of job that you want. So obviously, if you're making a CV, if you want to go into a sales type role, that is going to look very different to a type of CV if you want to go into maybe a computer programming type role. So the first thing that you want to do is decide where it is that you want to see yourself go in your career, what it is that you're passionate about, and what it is that you feel that you would be excited to do to work for. Once you have decided that, you should then begin to implement and develop a plan, a strategy, and set goals for how it is you're going to get where it is that you want to get. So to do that, I'd say the first thing that you need to do is look at what tools, education, and experience you are going to need in order to get where it is that you want to go. So say, for example, you ultimately want to work as a sales manager, where you are managing different salespeople, for example. Well, the first thing that you're probably going to need to do is you're going to need to have a knowledge of the market that you're selling into. You are also going to need to have experience within sales. So if you don't have experience in sales yet, well, then you're going to have to start smaller. You're going to have to start maybe working as a salesperson who is working for a sales manager and work your way up from there. Once you've set those goals and you know how it is you're going to get where you want to get, that's when you can start building your CV. That's when you can start preparing interview techniques, and that's where we can get into a bit more kind of detail, I suppose, about how to actually do all of those things.
Yeah, that's actually amazing, because setting goals, understanding where you want to go is the most important, in my opinion, because if you do not have a clear goal, you don't know what exactly to do to get there, and you won't get anywhere. And thanks a lot. This is absolutely important to, first of all, understand what we want, where we want to go, and then from there make a plan of action to achieve that. That's actually great. I made a video about strategy in life, and that covered slightly what you just said there as well. Cool, thanks a lot. So let's say we set our goals, and from there we have a plan of action, and of course we have to write a CV. And I wanted to ask a few questions about CV, and if you can guide us how it is best to write a CV, especially in Ireland. Can you tell us, like, roughly, how do you think, how many pages should a CV have? 1, 2, 3, 4 pages?
I'm so glad you've asked that, Anna Maria. So the first thing that I want to do is to dispel a myth that some people have, which is that, so specifically within Ireland, you do not have to have just a one-page CV. So there are a lot of people who maybe coming from different areas think that, a CV has to be limited to one page. This is not true in Ireland. In Ireland, you can have a CV that goes for 2, 3, maybe even 4 pages, depending on how much experience you have. I think what's important is that you are able to fully and accurately describe the experience and the education you have in a CV without going on for too long and looking like you're trying to stretch out your experience or make it seem like more than it is, because that will seem very obvious to a hiring manager. So I would say that in terms of how long a CV should be, that is going to change a bit depending on how much experience you have in your career. I'll give you a personal example. So I currently am 24. My career has been going since I was about 17. So I have 7 years experience. I would say my CV personally is just over 2 pages long. And that's because I've had a number of jobs in that time. Maybe if you've only had 1 or 2 jobs, maybe your CV could be 1 page. There's nothing wrong with that. Or likewise, if you have been working for 20 years in an industry and you have had many jobs in that time and lots of experience, then your CV could go to 3 or 4 pages as well.
Wow, that's amazing. Thanks a lot for telling us this, because as you told us about your personal experience, that now it's over 2 pages. Same with me. 2 years ago or even 3 years ago, I would be okay with 1 page. Now I cannot fit everything in 1 page. I feel like I'm taking things from myself. If I use just 1 page, I need 2 pages. Like a while ago, a few months ago, I had an interview and I had to prepare my CV, and I could not fit everything in 1 page. I just felt like I knew that there is a thing that it has to be 1 page, but I felt like I cannot. I need more. I did much more things in my job, like much more things, and I need to put much more in there. It was very hard for me to make that CV, but now I'm sure that it's gonna be much easier for people. Like having 2 pages might be ideal. Thanks a lot for sharing this, because I know the struggle. You can't, sometimes when you have much experience, you can't put that in 1 page. You feel like you did so much.
Oh my god, absolutely.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, so when I was preparing for the interview, it was very difficult for me to write the CV. Cool. Tell us a bit about having a photo on the CV. Like, I'm coming from Eastern Europe, and as far as I remember, in Eastern Europe, I never actually worked in Eastern Europe in Moldova, to be honest. I only worked as an employee in Ireland. But in Eastern Europe, you have to have a photo of yourself on the CV, obviously to present yourself. But there is another idea that if I put my photo, then people can be biased. That if they don't like my appearance, maybe they won't hire me just because they don't like me. So what do you think? What is best to do? To have a photo on the CV or not to have a photo?
Again, that's a great question, Anna Maria. So having a photo on a CV is something that's going to be very region dependent. For example, I have done recruitment in Germany in the past, where it is expected that you're always going to have a photo on the CV, so that when you go in for an interview, they know what you look like and they can put a name to a face to the name to begin with. In Ireland, that isn't as common. You can still put a photo on a CV. I think it depends a little bit on what type of role that you're applying for as well. But largely, I would probably advise, if you're applying for a role in Ireland, to avoid putting a photo on a CV. The reason I'd advise this is, I suppose, specifically if you're applying for some of the larger companies in Ireland, or some of the multinational companies that work here in Ireland as well. That is because one thing that they are focusing on very much when they are doing their hiring is the idea of not having any bias and creating an inclusive work environment. And so what their recruiters have to do when they're looking through all of these hundreds of CVs that have come in is they don't want to see anything on the CV that might bias them. So say, for example, if they see your photo on a CV, they may not see that as a bad thing, but they see, okay, well, I know that that you are white, that you are a woman, and so maybe this will bias my decision when I'm deciding if I should hire you or not. And so that can be a negative because it can make their decision bias. So I'll give you an example. When I have been recruiting for some of the tech multinationals here in Dublin. I'm not able to name names for the companies for legal reasons, but a lot of the really big tech companies that are based here in Ireland, they will actually reject a CV if you send it in that has a photo on it, just because it has a photo on it.
Wow.
And the reason that they will reject it is because they don't want to be biased in any way when they're making their recruitment decisions. So, like I said, it will depend a little bit role to role, but if you can avoid it, I think that in Ireland, that is probably the best way forward.
Thanks a lot. It's very interesting to know this. It's a very big question. I've heard that in the US, companies just simply reject CVs if there is a photo. A funny story, actually, because I do talk to loads of hiring managers. There was a manager in Carphone warehouse, of course, with Carphone's closed, unfortunately, but there was a manager. And one day I asked this question on my Instagram, and that hiring manager told me that, Anna, do you know what happened once? I got a CV, and there was a photo with a girl, and her photo looked like she was from Tinder. And I was like, did you hire her? And he was like, yes, actually, we ended up hiring her, and she was an amazing, amazing, amazing person, amazing worker. So yeah, but probably, as you say, it's just best to avoid because not all managers will be that easygoing and that open-minded. So yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that one thing that is important to bear in mind throughout the process of designing a CV is you need to really think about what a CV is designed to do.
Yeah.
And the way I see it is a CV is a sales document. It is like a leaflet that companies will hand out to people or post into people's letterboxes to try and get business. That's what it is for you. It's you trying to sell you as an individual to a company. And so when you are designing it, I think that you should only have content on a CV that is going to help sell you as a person. So a photograph, that is, to a lot of companies, that isn't important information. Most companies, they don't care what you look like. If you have the education, you have the experience, and you're going to be a hard worker, that is what's important to them. And so that is what they want to see on a CV. And so if you have information on a CV that isn't relevant to them, then there's no need to have that information on the CV.
Absolutely, that makes sense, because of course we have to keep the CV short as well and put the most important information. Thanks a lot. Also, I have a question about age, nationality, and address. Again, I suppose that age and nationality will be the same answer as a photo, but if you could slightly just mention a few things about including the age and nationality and address. Sometimes I feel a bit uncomfortable to put my age on the CV because I'm also 24, and I suppose that sometimes companies might think that, oh, she's just 24, most likely she's not a serious person, you know. This is why I don't really feel very comfortable. So if you could touch a little bit and tell us a few things about including age, nationality, and address on the CV, please.
Of course, absolutely. So, in regards to age, nationality, and address, so you're right. So, age and nationality, it is going to be a similar answer to the photograph. I would say that, so a lot of companies will not want to see age or nationality on a CV because it might give them some sort of bias when they're making their decision. But I suppose, so with age, it's a little bit different because a lot of companies, if you have your education on your CV, if you say, oh, I went to college from 2018 to 2021, well, then they will have a good idea of what age you might be based off of that information. So they will still be able to have an approximate idea of your age, but I'd say there's no need to include your actual age on a CV. Same goes for nationality. What I would make sure to include, though, is if you are from maybe a different nationality to where it is that you are, if the country that you're applying for a role in, I think that it's really useful to include any additional languages that you have. So maybe if you're a Moldovan national and you're applying to a role here in Ireland, it's great to have on your CV if you're fluent in Romanian. I think that that's going to be something that could be very useful to some employers. So although I wouldn't necessarily include the nationality, any skills that can come with that is definitely something that is worth highlighting. And then, so in regards to address, so a slightly different answer here. What I would do is, if I was applying for a role that is in maybe broadly the same location, so I live in Dublin, and if I was applying for a role that was in Dublin, in my CV, I would write that I was based in Dublin. What I would not do is I would not give my exact address. The reason I would do this is because when a hiring manager is going to be reading through my CV, they will see, oh, he is based in Dublin, so therefore he will be a good match for this role because he can come into the office every day. But the problem is Dublin can be quite a big city, especially if maybe you're taking public transport to get around, for example. Sometimes if I was living in the north of the city and I was applying for a role in the south of the city, that could be maybe an hour and a half commute every day to get to the role. So if I had my exact address and I was living in the north and I was applying for a role in the south of the city, they might look at the address and say, oh, well, he has to commute a very long way. I'm sure he's not interested in this role. I don't think that this would be something that would suit him. And so, although I would be happy with that commute, I wouldn't mind. They might think that it's not something I'm interested in. So I would say that it's good to have, if you're in the same location, it's good to say more generally, you're in the location, but avoid the exact address.
Yeah, that's ideal. Thanks a lot. Because also people can relocate, maybe I live in, I can change my rent. Oh, my rent is expiring, so I just can change the rent closer. This is what I would do if I found a job which is far away. I wouldn't mind change my rent and relocating. Thanks a lot for the answer. It's very interesting. I would not really feel comfortable giving my full address because it's personal details as well, and of course I would like some of my personal details to stay personal. Also, what I wanted to mention, but I see in the comments that guys are enjoying our training. Training session. It's almost like a training session. Our session. So hello Amir, hello guys, we're very good. Thanks a lot for joining us. Thanks a lot for your nice comments, and thanks a lot that you are with us. That's very great. I just wanted to double check, make sure that guys are with us and they're watching us, and all is great. Cool. Okay, let me ask you a few more things as well, if that's okay, about the interview. And I would like to know about references. Should we include the references in the CV? In my opinion, I would not include the references in the CV. I would just say they're available upon request, just because it's a lot of personal information of many other people, and I wouldn't feel comfortable giving someone's personal information to different companies. Can you tell us a little bit about including or not including references in a CV and how important they are?
Yeah, no, again, that's a great question. So, in regards to including references, my attitude to it is going to be similar to yours. I would say generally it's best to have, references available on request. I'll say this for a couple of reasons. First of all, when you're first sending your CV into a company, they're not going to need to see your references. A company will only need to contact your references if they are going to be making you an offer. And so if they're already talking to you, you've done several interviews, they're ready to make an offer, they can just ask you for your references, and you can send them over to them via email or text, something like that. I think that there are some people who maybe I would use as references that wouldn't feel comfortable having their information being sent out to lots of companies because I was applying for a job. But also, in addition to this, there are some companies that if you are applying for them, so they might get a CV and say, maybe this person is good, I'm not so sure, I will call their reference and check. And so they will call them up and they will have a conversation before they even decide to bring you to an interview. Now, this is okay if this happens maybe once or twice, but if your reference is getting 5 or 6 calls a week because you're applying to lots of jobs, then they're going to get annoyed at this very quickly, and very soon they're not going to be giving you a reference anymore.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because this is what I was thinking as well, Vash. I really value my people who want to give me some references, and I'm really thankful that they want to do this and say that we work together and give me a good reference. And I don't want to annoy them. I want them to be contacted maybe just extremely rarely when it's absolutely necessary. that makes perfect sense. Thanks a lot. So best thing is to say that they're available on request, and if somebody requests us, we will just send them over, and that's it. Thanks a lot. So I have loads of more questions about CV, but probably we'll move on to the other parts just because I want to make sure we manage on time. But guys, more information will be available on Sean's website on the new project Applicantio. The link is in the description to this video, so make sure you click on the link and you check the project as well, the website, because I'm sure that you will add much more things to the website. Am I right?
Absolutely. So, first of all, for anyone that is watching this that maybe isn't able to watch the whole video or wants to rewatch it later on, this video will be available on the Applicantio website in a couple of days as well. In addition to that, I saw a question in the comments before this video started about how to lay out a CV and what order information should be in. We actually have an article on that live on the website available at the moment. It's called How to Design a CV. So you can check that out. And then in addition to that, we are going to be putting up 2 more articles per week, every week. Some of them are going to be talking about CV advice, some about interview advice, some are going to be interviews with other senior recruitment staff, senior talent staff in a lot of big companies here in Dublin. And then also we're going to be discussing latest news and updates in the Irish jobs market as well. So yeah, feel free to check that out if you'd like to learn more about how to write a CV.
Absolutely, guys, definitely do. Sean told me a few interesting things about the market, hiring market, and everything before we started. It was very interesting. So honestly, I do recommend you to get onto with Sean's project, onto the website, and check things and stay updated as well, because it's very useful, and this information is very valuable for people. And unfortunately, I know that hiring managers have loads of things to do, and they won't have that much time to offer to people and to tell them so many details. And Sean is doing it, so I suppose that would be great to check all this. Thanks a lot, Sean. Cool. Again, I would love to spend a few hours with you and ask you so many questions, but I totally understand that it's Saturday and we have the time limit. Let me ask you a little bit about how to find a job. What is the best way to find a job? Online, offline, through your network? Because I've noticed it happened to me in the past as well, that I used to send like hundreds of applications online, and of course they didn't work. Most likely I had to tailor them properly to the job description. So if you could just slightly guide us of, let's say, we know what our goal is. We have the CV prepared. Now, how can I start looking for a job? How can I start applying? Where? And what would be one of the best ways to do it?
Of course. So there's a couple of points there that I think are really good. So I'm going to go through those one by one as well. So first of all, I think that for most people, your first idea is going to be, I will go onto a jobs website and I will apply for every single job that I see that is going to be relevant to what it is that I can do. So if you're a salesperson, I will apply to every single sales role that is available. And that can work. If you apply to enough jobs, eventually you will find one. It can be a number of things. So if you apply to lots and lots of jobs, you will eventually get a job. It might take a while, it may not be very successful, but eventually you will get a job. But it may not be the job that you want the most. You will just get a sales job. It will be something maybe more general, and it may not necessarily be where it is that you want to go in your career. The better approach is to take your time to think really deeply about what it is that you want to do, the type of companies that you want to work for, and then to target those companies strategically in your applications as well. The same is true for CVs, like you said. If you just do one CV that is just as your standard CV and you send that out to lots of companies, most won't be successful. The phrase that I always use is a generic application generally fails. So the best way to start looking for a job is to look at where it is you want to go and then tailor your CV and specifically target those companies. Well, now the next question, the next point you raised is, how do you target those companies? Well, jobs websites are a good place to start. If you know that there are companies that you want to work for that are hiring at the moment, then look at the jobs that they are hiring for and select the job that you want the most. Don't just go and apply for every single job that they are hiring for. Decide on the job that you want the most. Tailor your CV specifically to that job. I'll come on to how to tailor CV in a moment. So tailor your CV specifically to that job. Write a cover letter specifically for that job. Or if you have a more general cover letter, then edit your cover letter so that it's specifically targeting this job. And then apply. And I promise you that is going to get you significantly better results consistently in your applications. Aside from looking at job sites, you can also use your network. I think that LinkedIn is a tool that a lot of people, especially when they're starting out in their career, really underuse. I think that it's an amazing tool to meet and connect with people from all across the world in all different types of jobs. I think that anyone, when they maybe are working in their first job, should aim to have at least 500 LinkedIn connections. I think that this is a good number to strive for. I myself will have several thousand. That's because due to the type of work that I do with NBX Talent, I will be constantly connecting with people and talking with them about their jobs. But once you have these connections on LinkedIn, maybe you're connected to a manager in a company you want to apply for. Let's say Google, for example. So you see a job in Google that you want to apply for, and you're connected with a manager. You can send them a quick message and say, "Hi, I just saw this job. I was wondering, could you tell me a little bit more about it? What is it that I need to do to apply?" And you can get extra information that you can use to make your application better as well. So I think that networking and connections are something that's really important in that as well. Obviously, at the moment, connections are just digital. We can only talk by Zoom or by texting on LinkedIn. But when in-person connections come back as well, I think that that's something that is going to be really useful. I myself have gotten jobs in the past simply by talking to someone that maybe I met a couple of years ago, and they say, "Oh, well, actually, we're hiring for this job at the moment." And I say, "Well, that's funny because I'm looking for a job at the moment." And so we start talking, and we're able to progress things, and maybe I can get an opportunity out of that. So I think that networking is something that's very important to keep in mind as well.
100%. And you know why I totally agree with this, and not 100%, 1000%. I got a manager from a company texting me and being like, "Anna, I'm hiring people in your area," because I work in South Dublin area. "I'm hiring someone in your area, like a manager. Do you know someone who would be a good fit, or can you maybe ask a few people to apply for this job?" So now, if I was to talk to a few people who would be suitable, it would be like salespeople maybe, or sales managers, or assistant managers. And if we were just having a chat, I would definitely tell them about this opportunity. I would send them, because I have her email address of the hiring manager, and I have the job application, so they can access the hiring manager straight from the email address. So, I'm just waiting for a salesperson to come to me and be like, "I'm looking for a job," because I would love to tell them that there is such an opportunity and how important connections are, and to try to use them as well. And I love LinkedIn as well. Oh my God, it's one of my favorite platforms, to be honest. It's such a professional platform, and you can share so many things professionally and connect with loads of smart, intelligent people, as I yeah.
Absolutely. I think it's a great tool, and I think that it's something that a lot of people can really benefit from as well. It's worth bearing in mind that once you connect with someone on LinkedIn as well, everyone that they're connected to immediately becomes closer to you as well. You have first, second, and third connections on LinkedIn. So if you are connected with someone, that is a first connection. So if you connect with someone, then everyone that they're connected to immediately becomes a second connection.
Okay.
So it becomes easier to get in contact with those people as well. So it is an exponential curve with the benefits that you get on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah.
And so on that, like I said, the whole point of doing this video, of creating Applicantio and the content that we put on that as well, is to help people for their jobs. So if it is something that you're looking for, it's something that you want to try and develop at the moment, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is linkedin.com/Sean-McCarthy-NBX. That's NBX for NBX Talent, the company that I work for. So feel free to connect on there with me. I'm more than happy to give you advice there as well. And I think that hopefully the connections that I have might be useful to you as well.
Absolutely. And what I'm going to do when we finish the video, I'm going to add the link to your LinkedIn into the description to this video. So guys, you might just quickly go onto the description when the video is finished and just tap on the Applicantio link. And also you can tap onto the link that will bring you to Sean's LinkedIn profile. I think this is going to be super useful. Thanks a lot for sharing this. This information is so important. I really hope that people will watch it. Cool. Now, let's talk a little bit, just probably a few minutes as well. If you could just tell us a little bit, let's say we applied for a job, as you told us. We understood what our goals are, have a great CV, applied for a job, we were invited for an interview. And if you could slightly tell us a few things about the interview process, like what should we do in the interview, how do we present ourselves? I know that usually interviews are divided into experience, where people talk a little bit about themselves, and there is the behavioral questions part, where you are asked what would you do in a certain situation, and then there is a technical part. So if you could tell us a little bit, I know it's a huge it's a very big question, but just on the surface, if you could tell us a little bit how to go to the interview, how to present ourselves, maybe if you could give us some experience or some advice from your career that might benefit people, that would be amazing.
Absolutely. So that is quite a broad question. There's a lot that I could go into there. I could probably do another whole hour or two just talking about this. And so maybe if this is something that is of interest to people, me talking on a surface level, let us know in the comments and maybe we can do something in more detail another time. So I'll give you a broad overview to begin. So the first thing that everyone needs to know about interviews is that how well this interview is going to go and if you are going to get the job or not from this interview is decided before the interview starts. Everything about interviews is to do with preparation. You need to take time and put effort into preparing for every interview that you do. This is going to decide how well this interview goes. So, how do you prepare for an interview? Well, there's a few different sides to it. The first thing that you need to do is you need to research the company. There's a few reasons that you need to do this. The first of all is it's going to be a question in the interview. When you sit down in an interview, one of the first questions anyone is going to ask is, okay, so tell me, what do you know about our company? If you can't answer that question, then that is you gone straight away. You will not get this job if you cannot answer that question. So you need to have just some facts and figures about the company. You need to understand what they do, what it is they offer, before you go in, just as a very base. On top of that, it'll give you an idea about what the company culture is like. So everything from, I'll give you a good example, is how you're going to dress when you go to the interview. So if I was researching a company and maybe they are a bank or a law firm and they're very formal and they take everything very seriously, well then I will go into an interview dressed in a suit and a tie. I will maybe bring a briefcase with me. I will look like someone who works there. Because if I come in a jeans and a t-shirt, then they're going to say, okay, well he isn't taking this seriously. He's not going to be a fit for our company. The other side of that is if you're going for a tech company like Facebook or Google, if I come in wearing a suit and a tie there, well then they won't want to hire me either because they think, oh, he is too formal, he's too serious, he's not going to work well in our fun, relaxed work environment. So there, it might be better to come in wearing maybe just a pair of trousers and an open button shirt like I'm wearing at the moment. So you look professional, but you also look a little bit more casual and relaxed.
Like smart casual, as you call it.
Exactly, yes. And so this is something that you're going to learn when you're researching a company as well. On top of that, it will tell you whether you want to work for a company or not. Because this is important as well. When you're doing an interview, it's not just the company deciding if they want you. It is you deciding if you want the company. And I feel like this is something that a lot of people don't really think about when they're doing an interview. They're just so excited that they're doing an interview, they don't take the time to think, is this what I want? And so doing research on a company will tell you what their ethos is, what they believe in. It will tell you a bit about maybe what their workers already think about them if you look at review sites like Glassdoor, for example. And it will give you a better idea about the company. So research is going to be crucial for on the company. The second thing that you need to know about an interview is everything to do with the role that you're applying for. Thankfully, this is quite easy because the company has already given you all of the information that you need. What that is the job spec that you have looked at when you first apply. So if you're looking on a jobs board website, for example, you will see the description of the job. That is what you need to understand. You need to understand what it is that they are looking for, and you need to understand why it is that they need that. Because once you do that, then you can look at how to prepare for the kind of questions that will be asked for this role, and how you can match your previous experience with what it is they need to do now. I think that fundamentally there's one question that needs to be asked when preparing for an interview. I think that one thing that a lot of people misunderstand is this. They need to ask themselves, what is an interview? What is it designed to do? And what is my role in it? An interview is one thing and one thing only. An interview is a sales process. It is you selling your skills and your abilities to a company to match their needs. If anyone out there has ever done sales before, you know that the number one rule in sales is you identify what the customer needs, and then you sell the benefits of the product that match the customer's needs. That is exactly what you're doing in an interview. You're looking at what the company needs from an employee, and then you're matching your skills and your experience to their needs and explaining why you are best for the role. If you can do that, and only that, that is going to get you much further than anyone else when you're applying for an interview. After that, there is elements of cultural fit, things like that, but that is going to take a lot longer to go into, so maybe we can do that some other time.
Absolutely. This is so interesting, and this is what I also tell guys, that in an interview, just must sell yourself. Well, very interesting, and to be honest, I'd really love to go deeper into the question, and because I understand that there are so many points that you can talk about, and I'm sure that we can have like a few hours video to talk about it. That's so interesting. Thanks a lot. What I thought that we can do is that have a look through the questions, because I got a few questions. Maybe just we can answer one or two questions, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Perfect. Sounds great.
Yeah, cool. So I'm just quickly having a look around at the questions, and one of them is about becoming a HR in Ireland. If you could slightly tell us maybe your experience, how you became a HR, how you decided to become a HR, what would you start with if you want to be a HR? Like, would you start with university and then just look for a job? What would be the steps? Just simply, yeah.
Of course. I'll begin with, so in Ireland, there is, I suppose, two different sides to this type of industry. There is being a recruitment professional, which is what I do. I find talented people and I put them into great jobs. That is my job. And then there is a HR professional. What a HR professional does is, so they are not involved with putting people into jobs. They are more involved with, when someone is in a job, managing that process. So making sure that people are happy in their jobs, handling paperwork for these things. Maybe if someone is leaving a job, they will help to write the contracts for this. So one is for starting a job, and one is for when someone is already in a job. So these are the two sections for this. And the career path is a little bit different for both. So in terms of my background, where I came from, so I have a bachelor's degree in marketing, is where I come from initially, and I come from a sales background as well. So when myself and Anna Maria were working together several years ago, I was working in a role that was predominantly a sales-focused role, but there was, I suppose, at the beginning of an element of recruitment there as well. So what I was involved with doing there was I would go into various retail stores. I would help to coach the people who were working there and how to sell the products, but I would also recruit people that were in the retail stores to work as brand ambassadors for our company. So that was, I suppose, my initial beginnings into a recruitment field. From there, I decided that this was an element of the job that I really enjoyed, and I wanted to focus on this. So I just finished my bachelor's degree, and I went and I started to apply for recruitment agencies. I was lucky enough to get in with one of the top 5 agencies in Ireland, and I began my career there as a junior consultant. From there, I got several promotions to the stage where I was managing their called MSPs. Basically, I was the account manager for them for a lot of the large tech companies in Ireland. So I was working for companies like Facebook, Google, Microsoft, eBay, and several others. And so I was leading the team on that there. From there, I decided that I wanted to continue to grow further and to challenge myself. So I decided to leave one of the top 5 companies in Ireland, and I joined a small company. I joined, I suppose you'd almost call it a startup, called NBX Talent. So we recruit for a wider variety there, but it's a very exciting time in the industry in Ireland. There's a lot of job opportunities, both for people living here and for people looking to move to Ireland. As a matter of fact, NBX Talent is launching a new site specifically for people from Central and Eastern Europe who want to come to move to Ireland for jobs. It's called rosterforce.com. what this website does is when you apply for a job, if you get a job in Ireland, we help you with the process of moving. We will find you accommodation here in Ireland as well, because normally that is one of the biggest challenges for someone coming over here. And so that is what I'm doing at the moment. In terms of other career progressions for how you get there, so this is obviously a very personal story. There are other options. I think that education is something that's going to be crucial, especially if you're working in the HR side rather than the recruitment side. HR side, I would say that it is very beneficial to have a bachelor's degree in some sort of business, at least, preferably in HR. If you have a bachelor's in HR, that's going to be a big advantage. If not, I would say a bachelor's in some sort of business. Other than that, once you've done that, there are a lot of graduate programs here in Ireland that you can go into, or one other common way of moving into a HR role is some people will start out in a recruitment section, like I have, and they will move into HR over time as well. So these are just a couple of options for career paths.
Wow, that's very interesting, and it's great to see that you are able to use all your experience, everything that you did in the past, and to implement it into what you're doing right now. Because very often people say that, oh, I want to move into a new industry. Yes, that's great. It does not mean that you start from zero. You already, whatever you did in the past, you can get loads of benefits from the skills from what you did in the past and implement them in your present career. So I think this is a great example for other people as well. Is it?
Absolutely. I think that one thing that a lot of people struggle with is a lot of people aren't comfortable with selling themselves or with talking a lot about their achievements. They think that it is maybe not good manners to talk about all of your achievements all of the time. And so I think that you have to get over that a little bit when you're applying for jobs, and especially when you're doing interviews, because that's what people want to hear. They want to hear about your achievements. And I think that a lot of the time, if you're able to get over that, if you're able to talk about your achievements, that is something that is going to be a big advantage when it comes to interviews as well.
Absolutely. This is very great to hear, because especially coming from Eastern Europe, where it's not a good thing to show how good you are. This is what I was taught in my family, in my school, that you should not talk about yourself. No, you're talking too much about yourself. But then I realized that these things, these achievements, we put so much effort to get there. Even a little achievement might require years of effort, energy, time investment, even money investment. And why shouldn't we talk about it? Because we worked so much to achieve that. So that's great to hear. Thanks a lot for sharing this. And about HR career, I remember that I did business management in the university, and we did human resource. We had a course about human resources. We had a course about Irish labor law, and the amount of legal things that are involved in the HR job are very important. So as you say, I suppose that it's best to have education to be able to work, especially in the HR part, is it? To know all the legal stuff.
I mean, it's not impossible to work in HR without education. It's certainly not impossible to start a job in HR without education. But I think that unless you are willing to do something like do a part-time bachelor's while you're doing your job, I think that you will find that it is quite difficult to progress upwards in terms of promotions. I think that the more senior you go with a career like HR, the more crucial it becomes that you have that solid foundation of education as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks a lot for sharing. It's so interesting. And honestly, Sean, I would listen to you for a few hours, for a few days in a row, because you have this ability to talk. And people, in my case, I just listen to you. I'm very curious to know what you have to say. It's absolutely interesting. I would love to continue, but as well as we decided that we won't be able to go for too long, just because it's Saturday. I don't want to take too much of your time. But it's been so interesting and so useful, and I really hope that many people will watch this video, and even from this time, even from this surface information, people would be able to get so much use. Thanks a lot for sharing. I'm so happy to have a chat with you today. It's absolutely great. Guys, also let us know in the comments what you think about this session. Please let us know what other questions you have. I'm sure that actually you can use comments and questions even for Applicantio, because based on that you know what's the demand, and based on that you can even make articles on Applicantio. I suppose that might be a good idea.
No, absolutely. Well, look, Anna Maria, thank you so much for having me on. It's really been a lot of fun talking with you. I've really enjoyed it. I hope that what I've been able to share today will be of value to people. I hope that it's going to be something that will benefit people. If it is a case where, if you comment down below, if it's something that you're really interested in learning more about, maybe we can do something more like this in the future. But for now, if you have a look at applicanio.com, there are already articles and blogs there on how to tailor a CV, how to research a company, things like that. And then we'll, like I said, we'll be having more content on there as well. So thank you very much for having me on today, Anna Maria. I really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Sean. It's absolutely great talking to you. Great to see you again after 2 years. And guys, we're waiting for your comments. Please make sure you check the links to Applicantio. I will add the link to Sean's LinkedIn as well. I'm sure Sean is going to be a great connection. And yeah, thanks a lot. Have a lovely day, everyone. And I'm going to end the stream right now.
Bye, guys.